does anyone have any questions before we get started?
Should we have popped the beer before we started the call, or is it like a part of the episode to do it like as we like what's the protocol?
Yeah, so normally, this is where I ask the infamous question if you have anything unopened if you want to use, because I usually count us down. We do like a opening crack, and then I kind of bring us in.
Hold on.
It's totally fine. I dropped the ball on that. I should have probably mentioned
No,
to y'all
no, no,
as
no,
well.
no.
You could fake it or have another one on deck if you need to.
Yeah, cool. No, no, this is all for real.
I need to. Yeah. Oh, you're putting the cap back on. I see. Can I have the bottle opener? All
Wait, he says he's gonna count it down.
Yeah, I'll count us down.
Count us down.
All right. So I'll count us down. We'll pop these, and then I'll do the little intro, bring the four of you in, and we'll just have a good time. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with the band Hoverboard from Chicago. How y'all doing?
Good. So far, so good. Sick.
right.
Hell yeah. For people that might not be aware of you guys, Hoverboard is an alt-rock, shoegaze, dreamy, I feel like a little bit of grunge in there too. Just a great amalgamation of sounds. Based out of Chicago, originally from the Baltimore area in Chicago, which I'm sure we'll talk about that here shortly. But before we get too far, can you kind of go around the room and say who you are and what you do in Hoverboard?
My name is Brew. I'm one of the guitarists for Hoverboard.
I'm Grant. I also do guitar and I sing.
My name is Lillian. I play bass.
Yo, I'm David. I play drums.
Oh yeah. Well, you guys have some sick stuff out. I know some also sick stuff in the works that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I'm just getting familiar with Hoverboard since like you guys sent the email and like getting newly accustomed to y'all. Like kind of take me back and to the start of this project, because I know like you have on all your socials, started in Baltimore in the Philly area, and now you're in Chicago, and I know that's a big move to do multiple states to here. So like kind of take me back to the origin story of Hoverboard and how the four of you are now all here.
Yeah. So that I'm the only one from Baltimore. It started as like a solo project with me and a couple of friends like helping me along the way, and we were rooted out there and like also kind of adjacent to Philly-ish a little bit for like a year and a half. That was like the Philly adventure. But like we were in Baltimore around for, I want to say like 2017 is like when we started, but we didn't start doing shows until I think like 2021, 2020, maybe even like the tail end. But that was that. And then like just relocating here, Drew and I relocated together. And then from there we met Lillian and we met David. Yeah, and that's the gist. I think the succinct version.
All right. Was there a reason for Chicago?
I don't think so. It seemed to be a place that both me and Grant agreed on meeting up at, because Grant for the moment was still in Philly. I was living out of the country for about 7 years. When I moved back to the States, we were going to connect. Like we were parasocial friends from like Twitter, running in different groups who appreciated the same amount of music. So like Smashing Pumpkins is obviously a big one. So we ran in these like same inner circles, but when we decided to connect with each other, Chicago seemed to be the best move for us. Yeah, so I think that's why of all places we decided to come here, truthfully.
I mean, Chicago's a great city. I haven't been there in quite a few years. originally being from Iowa, being nice and close to it, but now living in Minneapolis, which is a nice, fun 6 to 7 hour drive. It's a little harder to get over to Chicago most days. But for you two, like getting to meet Grant and like kind of be brought in on this project, like how was that? Because I know it's always kind of daunting coming into something that's kind of slightly already established and already has stuff out. But like, how was that transition?
We did have the opportunity kind of early on in Philadelphia. I went up to meet Grant before we moved together just to like see Philly before he left. And I think we did like a session out there on some shows when the project was still called Shangri-La. And then I joined in on a show in Baltimore. So I guess we had already maybe started working together on something, but it wasn't until we got to Chicago and we had to kind of rebrand and start making some new work, or just setting an identity for who we're now that things really started working out.
Kind of how I got brought into this was Grant had first moved here back in 2023, and I was playing a show at a place called Lily's in Chicago, my other band Gnarly Gap, and there was a large debacle where we got double booked, and there was a 2-hour jazz set. And it's a very bizarre venue where there were multiple levels, and it was at the end of November, so you still had all these like decaying pumpkins laying around. So actually, my other guitarist, his guitar case got soaked by pumpkin juice, and to this day, still probably smells really bad. But I met Grant there, and he said he had just moved here, and he asked if I wanted to join his band, and I said no. At that point in time, I was busy with previously mentioned band Gnarly Gap, and then I was involved, and still am involved, with a death metal band called Brachion. So I was like, too much, two bands is already too much. And then kind of we jammed a few months later, and then I learned songs on bass. And here we played a few shows, and here we are. Yeah.
Yo. So I'm exceptionally new. I'm fresh out the bag. I've been in the band for like a month. Lillian brought me on. She's in the band for almost a year at this point. Almost a year. And I've always fucked with the band. I thought the music was great. I primarily play metal, and I really wanted to like get into that shoegaze, more something different, something that, like you said earlier, like Smashing Pumpkins vibe, Deftones vibe, just like a different vibe than I was used to. And when a spot opened up, I talked to Lillian, and Lillian talked to the boys, and then they said they were down. So that's how we got here today.
Hell yeah. Because it's like I've talked to a few people from Chicago, and I know like they've mainly been like pop punk bands and like more, I don't know, not fully metal, but like more alt rock bands. Is there not like much of a niche for like the shoegaze scene, or is it kind of smaller?
Oh, there definitely is. It's just like a different section of people, I guess. It's like the metal crowd is very to themselves, and they don't really go to the the like alt rock shoegaze shows. They're very like kind of snooty, I guess you could say. But no, there's a giant crowd for like, the stuff we're doing.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, I feel like metal scenes everywhere are kind of like that, where they're kind of their own self-sustaining like ecosystem, which is kind of crazy. But it's you have like a few outliers which will kind of like bounce around to other like demographics and other scenes. But yeah, metal's kind of yeah, exactly. Yeah, metal shows can be kind of odd that way. But it's at least nice that there's still a good like shoegazeness there. Like I haven't seen that in at least the Twin Cities. I know we have a lot of like pop punk metal. We have a decent hardcore scene. And then there's like a few like niche people that kind of do like some synth stuff. So it's always nice to see that like there's still like a decent shoegaze scene somewhere out there.
Yeah. I would say the one that I saw the most was probably, again, I wasn't in Philly for the longest, but Philadelphia seems to be like the place that I think has the strongest one still to this day, like that I've noticed at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. I've talked to a few different people from Philly, and Philly has this like weird amalgamation of just like everything kind of going on that, and it just works for what
Yeah.
Philly's doing, and it's amazing. That's definitely one of the spots that I want to try and hit up at some point and like catch some shows because everything that's coming out of Philly is just super sick.
What are you drinking? I didn't get to see what you were drinking.
Oh yeah, I have some good old Modelo's for this episode.
Do you see a correlation with like the different bands that you're speaking to on their choice of beer, and what assumptions have you made from said, you know, takings, I guess?
You know, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's a direct correlation between the style of music you play and like the beer of choice, unless it's like Hams and you're like a punk band. Because like I feel like that's Hams and PBR if you're a punk band, like that is already hand in hand. But I've had a lot of bands do like Modelo, or I sat down with some people and they did like some special one-off like IPAs and stuff, and I'm like, okay, like I don't know if that's fully punk to do that, but like
Has anyone ever busted out some wine?
no, there. I don't think there's been any wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just not the name of the show, though, is it? That's a whole different thing. That's not right.
Actually, I take that back. I think there was someone that has done wine. I'm blanking on what band they're in, but it's someone from New York. I have had someone, a few different people make fancy cocktails. I did have someone like make me a fancy cocktail drink once.
Oh,
But for the most part, it's usually just like beers. I've done an episode with just straight 40s, which is always a good time.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like you should do like a Edward's 40 hand episode kind of thing where you tape them to your hand. You know,
Well, that was basically the intention, and then I was like, I can't do anything. Like I can't pull up my notes if my hands are tied. So like, I still drank 240s. I just didn't have them stuck to my hands. That was a while ago. I don't think I could do it now. That's a lot of work. Hopping back into the band stuff, like you said, and like you kind of mentioned, what was it, Shangri-La, was the original iteration kind of the band. At what point did you decide to kind of switch it and make it Hoverboard? Was it when you kind of did the transition to Chicago as like a whole fresh step?
So I think it was kind of a perfect storm of us relocating, Drew and I relocating, as well as the fact that I think there was a band from Australia that started at the exact same time with the same spelling of the name, and people were tagging us on like Instagram, like Spotify Wrapped, and we were going, "That's just not us. Thank you, but that's not us." And so when Drew and I came out, it was kind of like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to figure something out," and then. We came across the idea because two childhood video games of ours, like the mode of operation in the video game was like the instrument was a hoverboard to like navigate. So we thought it was a cool thing.
don't be coy. This was Sonic. Sonic.
It was Sonic Riders and Kirby Air Ride for him. Yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah! I mean, it's a cool name, and like just the origin story behind it's pretty sick. Like now you got to feel like you got to make like knockoff like merch designs of like Sonic and Kirby and stuff.
The issue with social media right now is that we're getting tagged from all over the world of like old people on like hoverboards, like the ones that like the two wheel. Yeah, of course. So like now we got to go down that rabbit hole, and it's just everything's kind of hard.
Thought we were onto something.
Yeah.
It turns out we only opened up a whole new can of worms for ourselves.
I think you lean into it somehow and like get them to like
We make our
be
own
fans of
hoverboard.
the band now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But underneath that name, so technically, you have a few different things out. There is a full LP called uh, Schizophonic, which is a great listen to if people haven't checked it out. And then, since then, more underneath the Hoverboard name, you guys have done Pop and J, and then you released the Half the Lies They Tell About Me Aren't True EP, which both came out, 2023 for Pop and J, and then 2024 for the EP, which has been great to listen to. I know you guys are more fresh to the band, but Lillian, were you on those ones yet, or were you
No,
starting on the new stuff?
Just the new stuff. I wasn't super involved just yet.
Okay. Uh, just had a thought and I lost it, but that's fine because that happens. It's because of the bands. It's typical. But I mean that EP and that Pop and J too. The music video for that is great. Just you running around trying to find your friend, going into everyone's houses and such as that. And then kind of getting into like the new stuff since obviously we have Lillian who's going to be on it, and we'll have you on future stuff, which I can't wait to check out that when the time comes. But I know the singles you sent over so far, Bric-A-Brac and Earmuffs. When was the ETA for those coming out again?
I think Bric-A-Brac is. We were trying to plan a show around it. I think roughly July-ish is kind of
Okay.
where it's at now because the show got rebooked and you know how it goes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometime after this episode comes out, the songs will be fully out. Maybe you get a sneak peek in this episode. We'll let you know. Just keep listening. But I mean, they're two solid tracks. I feel like to follow up this EP. Like, how was it now that like obviously Lillian you're in, so you get to kind of do your own thing on these compared to just doing the parts that have been like provided to you before? Like, was it nice to kind of throw a little twist on like what was done before?
Oh, absolutely. I always do enjoy like writing my own parts. Other bands, I do write my own parts, but it's nice having like a solid foundation to come in with, and then being able to add my personal touches on that is, I don't know, what makes it way more fun for me to play. And I don't know, earmuffs definitely is, a challenge for me, I will say. Uh, Slap bass is definitely not my forte, I will say, but it's forced me to learn a new technique, and I've been working at it for over a year now, and if you told me a year ago that, I'm like, oh, you're gonna actually learn how to slap the bass this year, I would be like, no, no way, no. But it's been a really good journey, and I'm really happy to be able to like incorporate that into my repertoire and just like my techniques, and then being able to add my own stuff on top of that has been fulfilling. That sounds cheesy, but it is true. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's 6 singles, and I'm really stoked for like everyone else to get a chance to listen to it. I've been listening to it all afternoon leading up to this episode, and it's just like I was fine. It's one of the like there are 2 songs that like I definitely was fine hitting repeat on, because like sometimes I'll do an episode and just like some songs kind of get a little like lost in the sauce a little bit, and I'm just like, man, how long until this episode starts, type deal. But like I was like, all right, let's play it again. Let's do this again, and get back in the feel for it. What are these songs leading up to? Like, what's in the works behind the scenes right now?
They all kind of stems from writing sessions from back in Baltimore. Like the old iteration of the band back there. Like we had planned to release, I think it ended up being boiled down to like a double album, and we thought that was way too pretentious eventually. So we wrote way too much material, and then we were sitting there thinking like it was just very, very like pointless to put out in like one uniform thing, being from like a DIY band. I don't know. It's just not like for us, basically, is what we kind of came to. And then it splintered into like releasing a whole bunch of like 3-song EPs, which the aforementioned one you were talking about before that's out, Half the Lies They Tell About Me Are True, is like the first one of that. And then we were gonna continue down that path and do a whole bunch more. And then I think I feel like we were talking, and we just, it seems so much that like the medium is shifting to be more focused on singles. So we're just gonna probably try and just take it a little easier, put some breathing room in between, but hopefully release more frequently. And so all these like EP songs are kind of ending up becoming just like singles that are going to just kind of pop out here and there.
Okay. But with them coming out as a single, because like this is the one thing, like I know everyone's going to this like new release style, and like I feel like one of those old heads where like I like to see a couple singles drop and like an EP or an LP,
Sure,
just
same.
because like when the singles are dropping, like you get a feel for one song, but then like the next single never like matches the same feel, so like you never get that full release of like a story.
Yeah.
With your singles, since they were originally meant to be part of like an EP or almost like a full LP, they're still going to have some sort of like similarities and kind of flow with all the singles, right?
Yeah, I think they are kind of like most of them are like knitted together sonically because they were kind of written around the same time, and I think that just in that kind of having been in that written in that space, that kind of unites them. A couple other ones like Bric-A-Brac, I think, is the most recent thing we've written, which is definitely like a far cry from like the old sounds. And it was much more of like kind of keeping an open mind with like everyone that's in the band and like, thinking about how they would be playing it and like differently and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a mishmash of like new and old, and it's like taking what I think was a pride in like the Shangri-La era, making sure it doesn't kind of fall to the wayside, and then like also embracing like the new iteration of what we are currently.
Not to keep picking on you, Grant, but I gotta say it's I love the fact that obviously this started out as like kind of a solo project, but you've like opened it up and like are it sounds like you're pretty willing to like hear other people's like takes on things and let them kind of do their thing on these songs. I've talked to a few people and like it's very there's always that toughness of like it was my project to begin with, like it's my baby, like I want to see it a certain way, but to like open it up and have people come in and like do a spin on things like and make it more kind of cohesive than just like always being like a certain person's vision, like that's I feel like where you're always getting like the best stuff out of a band.
Yeah, I agree definitely. I think that was also I mean like even when it started as a solo thing, it was my idea was like I'm only doing this to find friends to play with, like that was the end all be all. So it was like I don't think I ever really had too much of that from the start of like this is entirely me, needs to be a certain way. I try to be as like anti that as I can, and I don't know. I like to think I am, but who knows? You might want to ask one of them instead.
No, I don't know.
Early doors for David. I think he's yet to see.
I'll let you know in a couple months how it goes.
All right, hell yeah.
Do we crack another beer? Yeah.
Not just a cold open after that falter there. Between Beyblade and Bakugan, do you have a preference that you pick over one another?
I think I've leaned more towards Beyblade because I think I fuck with that more than the other one growing up.
Follow up: Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
We need to know. The audience wants to know.
All right, for the deep cut audience, I think probably more partial to Pokemon, while Yu-Gi-Oh is always solid. I think it was just I never played Yu-Gi-Oh as much with like everyone else, and I just think about like what it's evolved to and like what it is now and like how it's been in my life, where the Pokemon Go and stuff like that. But
Pokemon is wicked, insane. Shangri-La?
Yeah. So before we we got interrupted there. You know, we were about to hear your answer as to like, you know, checking out these singles, listening to them as you were, you know, coming in after like being a friend and like fan of the band. Like, how was that first time hearing like these new stuff?
The new stuff, I was like, this band's gonna be famous. The music I thought was really sick, because I could hear certain influences in each individual song that I really enjoyed. Yeah, and then when I got to play them, it just became all the more better because I got to feel like a part of that sickness, like that I heard when I first heard the songs. Lillian would show me some of the songs. If we were like doing something, she'd be like, "Oh, check out the new Hoverboard song," and yeah, I was always just like, "Yeah, this stuff is sick." It can be like extremely diverse, but it's always Hoverboard, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed, like listening through to everything, is like while there might be a difference in sound, like you can tell at the root of it all, it's still hoverboard and what it's supposed to be, which has been sick. And like I said, I'm stoked to see kind of, you know, more future stuff and see what kind of twist you put on it on a song.
Definitely, I'm very excited whenever we get some drums going.
I think like half a week into you being in the mix, or a week in, David sent me something randomly and was like, "I got this beat," and then like he and I, like not even being in the same room, like halfway across town, we came up with like a fully formed, like really deep cut. It's like not fleshed out, but like it just like showed that already there was like that instant kind of chemistry between at least he and I, and I'm sure like everyone in the band and everything.
Dude, hell yeah, that's awesome. And then I know we've kind of jumped around a bit, you know, talking about like origin story and like the new stuff. But is there anything that I haven't brought up about Hoverboard, the band, or any of the songs that you like want the people to know about, or is there anything that like David and Lillian are like have never gotten to figure out that you guys want to ask Grant, like these deep cut questions?
We usually, if we have a question or something, we kind of just voice it. Just either drop it in the chat or have a call. But yeah, nothing like no deep rooted questions I've had lingering in my mind. I think that I've always wanted to ask. Yeah, not so much. No, we're pretty chatty. So if anyone has something going on, we usually bring it up. When it comes to the music, there's been maybe some of the songs you've heard, and also some of the new songs. There have been like very minor detail changes just through the course of practicing this past month that I think just leads to an ultimately stronger vibe with all of us when we play live. And it's been very cohesive, very open, and we've all been like really kind of solidifying this next iteration of the band.
Hell yeah.
I think just to add to that point too, it's like me having sat with these songs for so long, it's nice to have the fresh perspective from everyone in the mix. And like I'm thinking of like a prime example of that that I feel like David was talking about is like some of the songs on the new or on our current set list with like this new iteration of us. It's this, they've been played the same way every time, so I'm kind of just like saying, hey, here's what the previous person played, here's what the person before him played, here's what, you know, that kind of thing, just down the line. And then it's like it took David being like, hey, why don't we do this instead? Then it was like Occam's razor. Like it's like, oh yeah, of course that's the answer. Like it doesn't matter that it's been being done this way for so long. It's like a good idea is a fucking good idea. You know what I mean? And it's so refreshing to have that kind of situation within us.
You look like a Teletubby. Hold on, you have to put the hair. Yeah. We're back.
Was it like that the whole time?
Yeah, we've been thinking about well, with the singles, it's kind of like if it's easing us up on like a production and a mixing and like all that kind of end, and giving us a little more time to breathe, we were thinking about investing that in more like doing more like music video type situations, or that kind of thing, because it's definitely something that I know I've wanted to get down, and it's just like I've felt overwhelmed with like all of the mixing aspect and like getting like everything done, and then also marketing everything and doing all that. And I'll have an idea for a music video, and it's like, well, it's just I'm already like gassed out, you know, and it's like there's no point in trying it. Let's just put the song out, put the EP out, whatever. So this kind of like little buffer breathing room is going to be nice, because I know we've talked about doing a couple like music video ideas in that regard, which I feel like, I don't know, I don't want to say lost art form, because it's not, but it's
it's exciting when people like do physical, or I say physical, like visual media for bands. So I think it seems like we were talking about how bands are moving to this new release platform rather than just like, you know, dropping an album. It's like single EP. But if you're accompanying that with like visual art as well as like physical with musical art, I think that does a lot, especially for smaller projects, probably like ourselves at the minute. But so that's exciting to do as an artist, I think, as well. Bridge that out into a different medium.
Yeah, and I mean, to Grant, to your point, it is almost like a lost art where, you know, not a lot of people are doing music videos as much these days. Obviously, I know it is, you know, can be time. It can take up a lot of time, and it can be, you know, take up some money. But if you know how to DIY it the right way, like I have friends that have done all their music videos on just like an iPhone, and they've come out phenomenal. But if you take the time, like it's something that not a lot of people are doing unless you're like a bigger name and you have that backing. Because I remember back in like 2010, 2011, that's how like I found a lot of emo bands. Was just like going through YouTube, finding a song, and then hitting like recommended, and just like going through that rabbit hole. And like now, like I don't even think I could fully do that and get down a rabbit hole with DIY bands.
Yeah.
The man's keeping everybody down. YouTube algorithms blow. I was going to say something else.
All right.
No.
Okay. All right. We'll circle back.
But I'm stoked on this next iteration of Hoverboard, and like, you know, hopefully we'll see some music videos in the near to soon future. You know, if everyone's listening, definitely go check out the EP. We'll talk links here in a little bit. You know, this before we start to transition to the later half of this episode, this is Obvious Beers with Bands. I told you what I'm drinking tonight. What are y'all drinking on this fine Tuesday evening? Good old Pacificos, hell yeah.
La cerveza del Pacífico.
For Michael, I'm breaking my Pacifico virginity here today, and I just want you to be the first to know, because we appreciate you, and we appreciate you reaching out and doing this with us. This is really exciting.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm honored that I was here for this special moment. You know, Pacifico is a solid beer. It's, you know, it's no Modelo, but it's a solid beer.
Yeah.
Now, is there
Is
there a correlation between Hoverboard and Pacifico? Is this the band's beer of choice, or was it just like cheap for?
Well, now that you say this, now we could. God, if we could be sponsored by any beer, I don't know what it would be.
Schlitz, if you're watching, we want it.
Good one.
We
Yes.
want it.
This has no correlation. It was merely the fact of me putting in the chat saying, "Hey, I'll take the responsibility of getting the beer," and then showing up early, falling asleep in my in the parking lot, and then them showing up and being like, "You got the beer, right?" And I said no. And then while we were trying to set up, Lillian graciously ran and grabbed the first thing she saw, so we got Pacifico.
Hell yeah!
Yes. When we got here, I also said, I don't know if this is like, do we drink it with him, or like, is this just him drinking a beer while talking to us sober?
No, there's a 5-minute period before the episode where we all just get hammered on beer real quick,
Yes.
and then we come in,
Nice.
and then just like blab for an hour.
Yes. So
That'd
again,
be
I'm
fucking
sorry.
wild. But no, that's amazing. So, but Schlish is the band beer of choice.
that's when we have the coin, when we got the paper, we'll get some Schlitz. I really, I would say I don't know too much about it, but I like it.
Can we do that? Can we each go pick our beer?
Yeah, Lillian first.
No, remember I was like, let's get the Malorts.
Oh,
Get her off the mic. You're done. You're done.
Shit.
You got one? I don't know what mine is yet.
Fuck, I feel like Red Stripe would be cool as hell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, on the whole thing of us not having beer being prepared for this episode, there is a little caddy corner with just a bunch of alcohol. So we would have been those degenerates who were doing beer with bands, but just like hard with bands.
That's the other thing we had. I don't know. There was a cheap beer in Baltimore I really liked, but it got blown away the first time I had Old Style, and I think that might be the best cheap beer I've ever had. I don't know if I would pick that. I did the 999 challenge at a Cubs game with Mango Cart, and that was pretty good. It was like drinking fruit. I don't know if I would pick that though. Yeah, it's not the best pick, but I'll go Old Style. I feel indoctrinated into Chicago in that sense.
If any of these aforementioned brands end up watching this, you know who's on your side.
Except Malort.
Have a Malort stick and poke. Come on.
Shit, we got the bottle right here. No.
No, thank you. Just keep it on that side. I don't know if I want to go back down that rabbit hole of drinking Malort again.
You do not. You do not.
Yeah.
No.
You ever come back to Chicago? We would treat you to a Chicago handshake. We'd gladly receive you.
I've never fully had a Chicago handshake. So I think I would. So I think I would have to at least do it.
Yeah.
That would be my one time that I would have Malort again.
Nice.
Which I feel like this is a transition to a very good segment. Since this is kind of the part of the episode where we kind of talk about some fun stories from y'all's time of music, whether it's shows, tours, time recording, or all that fun stuff. But I feel like, Malort is such a big thing in Chicago. What does everyone remember their first time having Malort? And how did that go?
I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, so I think I was probably like 19 or 20 back in college, and someone was like, you gotta have Malort. And then I had Malort, and it was fine. It was completely fine. And then I had some pineapple juice. Great. Okay.
I'm from Chicago, and I just started drinking. So this is my drinking era, 2025, and but I did have some shots here and there, like at shows and stuff. I think the first time I had Malort was probably like 2018. I played a show with one of my bands, and my guitarist was like, Dave, like, we need to get you a Chicago handshake or gym shoe, whatever the fuck it's called. And I was just and I was like, okay, like, I'll try it. And I drank it, and it definitely tasted bad, but now I kind of like it. It's a part of the ritual. Now it's like a shot of Malort before the show and a shot of Malort once everything's done.
All right.
I think the first time I ever had it, so when we were in the little Shangri-La era with my friends back in Baltimore, we did a couple of show runs, and we played Chicago twice before we actually got set up out here. And when we got here, we were told by my friend that we needed to try it. So we got like little shooters for each one of us, and we did it after the show. And I remember our old drummer and our old bassist like immediately ran to the bathroom. I was solid enough to just sit on the couch and go, I did not like that. But that is the first time I had it, and I was really hoping it was the last, and it was not. I have been talked into it many times, regretfully.
I was sat here pondering this while we went down the line. Lillian, I think you gave me my Malort shot when you came over to me and Grant's first apartment. So I feel like the seal was broken then. It's nasty though. Yeah, it's bad. That's all we need to say.
I remember there was like a punk festival in the Quad Cities, and I think it was like one of the first times that I think this bar had gotten Malort from, because for the longest time Malort was strictly Chicago only, and then now it's kind of started. You start seeing it in all these different cities now, and they had it for like shots for like $1 or something like that. So like we'd been drinking for most of the day, and my buddy goes, "Hey, I got you a shot," and I was like, "All right, cool." So we both took it, and it was even like multiple beers in, it was still horrible. I'm so sorry. Just it was brutal. But then I did the mistake of being like trying to get him back, so I bought us another round of shots. So I had two like within like 15 minutes, and that's pretty much where the night started to end. Was about there. But now that it's in Minneapolis, I haven't had it here yet. My barber keeps a bottle in the barber shop. And he also has a bunch of stickers that instead of like the I voted ones, they're the I malorted ones. Still haven't gone down that. Still haven't done it yet.
We have those stickers all over the damn place here. That's fantastic. That's exciting. I'm glad that it's branched out. Like there's so many around our apartment, like on record players. And
My friend from Philadelphia just sent me a random photo of him holding a bottle of Malort in Philadelphia, and he was like, "Look what I just found," and I was bewildered because I didn't know that they had branched out. I thought it was still just a Chicago thing.
Yeah. I remember when it made it to Minneapolis, it was like a big thing because like one of the bars, one of the venues like got it, so it was like, "Yo, Malort's finally in town. Like, let's all go down to this bar." And like, I think there was a show that same night. It was a whole thing.
It's like a delicacy. It's like a
Acquired taste.
Yeah.
Delicacy is crazy.
I think the worst thing Malort can do is be the reason that you vomit. Because if you get sick off of Malort, that's like a whole nother level of hell, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like you've got Dante's Inferno, and then like the 10th rung is throwing up the. It's not. Hey, long story short, it's not any better coming back up.
No.
Well, if people out there have not had Malort, don't take our word for it.
Hey, it's good. Try it. No, it's good.
Yeah. Take Lillian's word for it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
go get yourself a few shots. I feel like everyone should at least have Malort at least once.
Yes.
You know,
I agree with that.
Whatever happens after that, that's on them. But at least try it. But getting back into some more stories, obviously, you guys have been transitioning to Chicago, and like you two have been in Chicago for quite a while. But like, what are some fun show moments that you guys have had in your time of playing music, whether they're Philly, Baltimore, Chicago, Hoverboard, or past?
Okay, so I've been given the mic here to chalice this. So like the end of the iteration of a band that I was in, that was based in Kent, England, we played the Dover Booking Hall, which is a very lovely venue, like near the cliffs of Dover. And as like a last hurrah, our singer booked us to open for a Cure cover band. And when I tell you that this isn't even fun, this is just me being angry now, and I've been given the mic. The man was so into character. Like, I think cover bands are great. They're very fun. But when you as a person channel your aura around being like Robert Smith, this man like drank the same beer that he had in his rider, and he was just the most despicable person I've ever met. And then he found out I was American. He like talked to me exclusively before the show together about how stupid Americans were and like American women and stuff. But we got into like a whole kerfuffle before this. So like this band's last show together did not go well. The vibes on the stage were awful because me, like 19, got into a fucking piss match with the guy dressed up as Robert Smith like it's Halloween. That's the only thing that comes to mind for me.
For me, I think one of the more memorable ones is one of the more recent ones we've had, and I won't say. I feel like Drew might interject over me and loudly shout the name of the place, but I don't want to give them a bad rap. He already left. He already left them a bad enough review on Yelp. With the door guy was. He was just a real prick. He was so crotchety in every sense of the word, and I've had my run-ins with bad guys and dickheads plenty, in this, it's fine. I get it. You can be rough around the edges, but this guy, I don't know. He was yelling at us for leaving our stuff on the stage, which is what he told us to do. And then when we moved it to the back, he started complaining that there was no room for him to get in there because there was too much shit in the back. And then when we moved it back, I don't know. He was moving around Diet Cokes as well. And then we saw that Drew's amp had Diet Coke poured all over it.
Oh,
we don't know if it was intentional. He came up accusing us of marketing this as a BYOB event, which we never did. He was yelling at literally every single one of our patrons, our friends that we brought out, literally every single person. I had coworkers come to the show and they still look at me and say, "Oh, you got the show coming up? Please tell me it's not at that same venue," because that guy was an asshole. I was just bewildered. And then the thing to top it all off is there was also a lady there, and she was genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met in the industry. And when I was talking to her, she was like, "Yeah, I handle the social media and all that kind of for this place because, well, I'm sure you've picked up on it." And just pointing at the guy, if he's that bad. Yeah. So that was an experience, I would say.
I was just gonna say this isn't funny, but it's funny to laugh about now.
We were incensed at the time. Respect. Also, only carded you out of everyone in the band. He came up and was like, "You're all over 21, right?" And then we all shook our heads, and he goes, "Can I see your ID?" Pointing to her.
I'm the oldest one in the fucking group. Angry.
Oh man. Damn. It's a fucking blur. I think probably one of the most badass, sickest shows, funnest times would be my band Rain. We played at the Fallout. Rain on my body, keep it on me. And we were doing a wrestling versus match. So it was Rain versus this Chicago band called Texas Toast Chainsaw Massacre. And so we each played our set, but the guitarist in my band was the drummer in Texas Toast Chainsaw Massacre, but he wore a mask. And no one knew what was going to happen. We all just started fighting. So everyone thought it was real, but we all just started wrestling, fighting, elbow drops, body slams, choke holds. And it ended up going outside. We kind of planned all of this, and someone got speared through a door. My guitarist Mikey got speared through a door, and it all led to my guitarist Ed setting someone up on a table, getting tossed up to the roof of this venue, this DIY called the Fallout or the Pilsen DIY, and everyone's just fucking chanting, and I'm like, "Let's fucking go!" And he elbow drops this guy from the roof of the venue. It's it's big, it's fucking big, but it's not an actual legit venue size. And he elbow drops this guy through a table onto the ground, brought him, drug him back into the venue, and then made him tap out for the win. And there's video. There's video. So if you just look up Rain versus Texas Toast Chainsaw Massacre Chicago Fallout, it's fucking, you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. But yeah, someone got elbow dropped off the roof through a table.
I feel like I have no stories. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of already briefly talked about that, where debrief. So, debrief is where my guitarist from Gnarly Gap, his pumpkin, essentially, or not his pumpkin, his guitar case got soaked by fermented pumpkin juice on stage after we had been delayed for 2.5 hours because there was a 2.5 hour jazz set. So that was that fun part. But I guess a different story is, so a month ago, so I fill in sometimes for his other band called Speed Pussy.
Speed Pussy. Fuck yeah.
What is it, Black Speed death metal?
Black Speed death rock and roll. Post grunge.
No post grad. um, so I filled in for Speed Pussy a few times here and there, and then so I have no idea how this happens, but my dad texts me at first he he first texts me at like 10 a.m. He's like, "You were going to a concert tonight?" And I just replied yes, and then he's just like, will you be earning money? How are you getting paid? I'm like, I don't know, probably not. Maybe. He's like, will you get food tickets? I'm like, I don't know, man. Anyways, and then so the day passes, nothing is happening. And then I get a text message. Me and him are driving to the venue. He's like, I am at blah 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 North Milwaukee, which is the address of the venue. I almost died. I'm just like, holy shit. No, and he thinks like something devastating.
I thought someone died. The way she reacted, like it was terrifying. I immediately started like sweating.
And then I'm just like, dude, my dad is coming to the show. Yeah.
For Speed Pussy. FYI, her parents have never been to a show.
Yeah, so I started playing maybe like 4 years ago, and I've never had my parents come to any of my shows ever. They never know what's going on, blah, blah. Like, when I joined, like, my death metal band, like, we did, like, the corpse and everything. My dad saw a photo on Facebook, and then he was like, he gave me a stern talking to. He was like, you're going to do drugs and join a cult. You're in a cult now, blah, blah. And, you know, metal kind of gets a bad rep. So I'm just like, oh, gosh. So, like, I'm like, how did he first of all find the Speed Pussy show? And then because I'm like, I hide everything on Facebook from my parents. I'm like, they can't fucking see anything. And then so I'm like, oh god. And then it's also like 6:30 at night. So I'm like, he's extremely early. And the best part is he shows up to the venue, I guess, and then he's like, I'm here to see my daughter play. and they're like, oh, well, who's your daughter? And then he like points to the flyer because I don't think he's gonna say Speed Pussy out loud. And then they're like, because they like recognize me and from the band, they're like, oh, we know exactly like who she is. And so like he eats at the Mexican restaurant next door. We go, and I'm just like, oh my god, panicking. And then we go sit down at the bar where the venue is, and then, you know, there's 2 or 3 bands that play before us, and then one of their opening lines for a song was like, now this song is about stroking your fucking cock. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, So very, very crazy. And then like I have to go down and like start warming up. And then I tell the bartender, I'm like, hey, take care of my dad. And then, you know, my dad is also falling asleep at this point. Mind you, he's like 72, like very old. I'm like, it's probably past his bedtime at this point. But then like once we go up, you know, he's up there standing proud with like the camera on his phone, like videoing us the entire time. And I didn't notice this, but David told me, he was like, yeah, when the little mosh pit started, like the bartender like came and moved my dad out of the way. And then afterwards, like, you know, he sent me and my sister like a text message because she asked how the show was. He was like, yes, black metal with Norwegian flavor. My first time. It was very well attended. And then he like gave some like review about the lounge, the bar that it was at. I'm like, great, thank you. So very bizarre circumstances, and I can't believe that my dad came to a Speed Pussy show.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
It goes in, it comes out.
You know, I think if your dad's ever looking for like a side gig, he should definitely review shows, because that little bit of a review that he gave sounded immaculate.
Okay, no, it's hilarious though, because he's like, he's professor. He grew up like speaking like British English. He's from Hong Kong, so he has like very like, I don't know, very good vocabulary, and the way he speaks and his cadence and everything, like the way he speaks is so, I don't know, proper. Yes. So I'm just like, what if I brought him like reviewing all these crazy shows that, you know, be like, oh, let's, yes, he'd be like, oh yes, the guitars on this sound, blah blah blah. Then I don't know, it just be really funny, honestly. You know, maybe if someone were to start a podcast, it could be him.
2 million subs immediately.
Right. I'm trying to think if I got anything else.
What about you? Best concert experience? Craziest concert experience? A band you saw? Something wild?
So I think one of the craziest shows I ever went to. This was like 2013. I think it was the Story So Far and Stick to Your Guns co-headline tour that they did with Rotting Out, Such Gold. I think Souvenirs was on it, and I feel like I'm blanking on one other name. But I'd never listened to Stick to Your Guns before that, and I was never like a big fan of the Story So Far prior to that show. But it was like the first sold out show that I ever saw at Gabe's in Iowa City, which is like my favorite venue in the world. And like there's like 500, maybe not 500, but there's at least a couple hundred, kids packed out in this room, and just watching people just hang from the rafters as they're like finger pointing to Parker Cannon, and then just seeing the destruction that happened, and getting to experience like pits for the first time, like it was pretty magical. It was a magical moment.
These stories.
Hell yeah. That's 3.
What? We only got a 6-pack, man. That's fucked up.
No, shut up! I'm sorry. I already apologized. I'm sorry.
Well, this has been a great time hearing some great stories. Normally, I mean, they've all been good stories, and I always like to leave off these episodes on a high note. So, like, my final question to the four of you is, obviously, we're still in, like, this kind of early stages of this new formation of Hoverboard. But what is something that each one of you is, like, looking forward to in the future with this project?
All right, so being new in the band, I look forward to just kind of feeding off, and like all of our energies kind of like just making these next couple tracks like wicked insane. I feel like we've all had something prior to the band, even probably Grant and Drew, something special within you guys, special within us, that when these next tracks get made, I think I'm excited to like start working on new material, record, put more stuff out. You're talking about dropping singles, like when is there going to be another EP? When is there going to be an LP? And I think that will be partially the swan song, the magnus opus, coming forward. There will be more. Oh man, just yeah, very excited to record new music and put what we know as individuals together, and then to drop it as a band. I think that's my 2 cents.
One thing that I really appreciate about this project, especially where there's like a lot of heads coming together to try to create things. I'm sure this is very broad and ascertains to a lot of people, but when I show people our music, they always can say like, whether knowing the members or not, like they can hear the influence of everybody. And I have to say, for like the group that we have here, it seems like everybody's influence is pretty far and vast. And I'm sure they meet in different places, but I mean, there's a lot of different like fun quirks about each player, in this. So I think my most exciting thing is carrying that on and just seeing how far that can kind of tumble and roll into something. Because I think there's obviously great groups out there who have done the same thing, where they've put a bunch of influences together that probably don't mesh all that well, but it still makes something quite cool.
I guess Maybe if it calls for it. Because there is a song where I do get to sing. So hopefully in the future there will be more opportunities for that because I don't know, it's definitely put me outside of my comfort zone. I come from a family of big singers, but I'd like to say that I don't really sing very well, but people have told me otherwise, so I'm like, okay, maybe I believe you for a little bit and then don't think that again. But I think just like opening myself up to like those possibilities and opportunities again will just, further develop me as a musician as a whole. So, I mean, this group has already like done a lot for me in that regard. So, I'm excited.
Um, I don't know. My largest aspiration with this musical project, I want us to become a goal song for an NHL team. Specifically the Philadelphia Flyers. If you're watching, please make Earmuffs your goal song.
Crazy saying that while wearing a Minnesota Wild jersey, by the way.
Hey, I am allergic. My team's allergic to the playoffs. I gotta pick somebody else. I like Kaprizov. Anyway, that's just like a little dumb pipe dream. But on the real, like it's been shared across. I feel like everyone's kind of saying like the same sentiment. And I mean, just I guess coming from as like the longest serving or longest tenured person in this project and all, and someone who was kind of like having to do everything on his own, and like not, that not being what I was craving. Like I said, like I was always trying to get more people in. I've always expressed this sentiment of like hopefully getting more people involved in the writing process, which has happened to a small degree, but it feels like it's slowly turning a corner now with everyone here. And it's like I know Drew and I have written, I think, like 3 songs now together at this point, roughly. And it's just like every time we finish it, I'm always left feeling like, oh, this is like more accurate to what I think our band is than anything I could have written on my own. And I think that camaraderie and that like shared writing process between he and I alone, like that is such a wonderful sign of things to come. And then I was also going to mention like you singing as well, and opening up that kind of, because like a fair portion of like the shoegaze songs I love most, it's always, it's a fair portion of the time it's like female-led vocals or a blend of like female and male vocals creating this unified sort of ethereal type voice, and just like opening up all these channels of like that as well. And then David, I think you're the first like strongly metal influenced person we've ever had play drums for us. And it's like it's just like I already mentioned the thing about us collaborating on that like one idea you had just that you sent on a whim, and it was like I felt such a burning want to be like, oh, I want to make something, I want to make you proud, bud. Like I felt that right away, and like I just want like the rest. I don't know, that's what I'm looking forward to, and just like everyone kind of opening up to that, and us exploring that path a lot more.
Thank you.
In the studio.
Well, I'm stoked for all of those, and like I said, I'm really stoked to see what like this next iteration is going to be like, with the 4 of you kind of putting your heads together and everything that's going to be released. Everyone be ready for Bric-A-Brac and Earmuffs to drop hopefully soon, shortly after this episode. If anyone's looking for merch, music, or Hoverboard in general, where can they find it?
We are, I believe, on everything. We're at hoverboard.mp3 on pretty much every social media channel. And then we have merch available at shows, which we typically forget to mention every single time we play a show. So we don't really sell much. We get up there and go, hey, we're gonna do it. And then like we get through the set and we just all get off stage and go, merch, fuck! So it's like, it's not the best, but we have merch. Ask us about it at a show if you happen to see us. Jog our own memory, because we're all getting old except for the spring chicken here. But yeah, I think that maybe do we do something online soon? Do we sell? Do we do a merch drop? Maybe this is the beginning of a merch drop.
Could be crazy.
Yes.
Well, you heard it there. Depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, or you watched the YouTube version and got to see their lovely faces like I did tonight, check the hyperlinks down below. Go follow Hoverboard on all the socials. Be there for new music, potential music videos, upcoming shows. Hit them up if you're going to a show and you're in the Chicagoland area to get some merch. Maybe buy them all a Chicago handshake. That's on you. Threw it out there. But one last big thank you to the four of you for taking the time out of your Tuesday to sit down with me and talk about your band.
Thank you so much, sincerely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've said it enough. I don't want to brown nose you.
Thank you very much.
Works perfect. Everyone goes on the Hoverboard, and I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
With